Coach Helen for YouFit Studio. Now, I called it "What game are you playing?" And I kind of just rambled about it a little bit. We assume that playing games is actually a negative and bad thing. Although actually, in some senses, it's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it can really help somebody along the way to where they want to get to in their goals. And I will explain why, of course, as always. There's different ways of looking at what I mean by game playing. It can be about losing weight and remaining healthy. I do also think lots of people think, right, as an adult, I don't play games, I'm an adult, it's an immature thing to do. And yeah, in reality, sometimes, not all the times, if we're genuinely honest with ourselves, there is an element of this that happens quite a lot on a day-to-day basis. Whether we realise it or not, whether we label it that or not, it does still actually exist within adults, and certainly with an amount of clients that I've worked with. I just might not register it or label it the same. So just be some of the language I might use in this might be like, oh, that doesn't apply to me. But actually, if you think about more about the behaviours, it can absolutely apply to you. So I want to talk about briefly, because I have done a whole live on it, is the idea of the how long or short term this sometimes can be, right? So for a very short amount of time, somebody may play a game of, I want to see how far I can push myself. Have you ever said that to yourself? I want to see how far I can push myself. I'm going to test myself and see. Now people call it challenges, right? People go, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to challenge myself to do something, and I'm going to do as best I can. Now, arguably, you're competing, right? Either with yourself or with a group of people. So there is an element of game playing happening. So in a shorter term aspect, sometimes game playing can still exist. But the idea is you usually push yourself to the absolute maximum for the best amount of reward. And I suppose, actually, this isn't generally planned, but actually, if you think about it, a challenge mentality, like the challenges you're doing at the moment, are very much a demonstration of that, where someone goes, like, for a short period of time, like 6 to 8 weeks, I'm really going to test myself, I'm going to push myself to my limits, I'm really going to win at the game of losing weight, for example, in this situation. And often that kind of, it's always good to do something like that short term and intense if that's your mindset, because ultimately it can be exhausting, right? If you play the game at such an intense level, it'll be like trying to play a game of football with only one player each side, and both of them have to run up and down the pitch constantly, non-stop, right? If you're playing it intense and long term, right? So short and intense game playing has its own rewards and successes and values, right? But not generally can be played at a really intense level, and that can sometimes impact your goals. So you think about intense, that's how it works. Now, if you're talking about a long-term goal, right, for example, then you've got to be looking at long-term strategies, right, that still include some game playing, or infinite game, as I've called it previously, because it is, right? You're permanently playing the game of getting better at, rather than being the best, like short-term, you're playing a game of getting better. So you're just kind of improving yourself, like how can I make myself better each time by playing different variables against themselves, testing myself in different environments and seeing where I come out on top, right? So arguably still a bit of game playing involved, right? Now that's when you talk about goals and game playing and short and long-term game playing, right? The long-term, right, element of it is more successful when we talk about infinite games, because it's exactly that. It can be infinite rather than finite. So it involves a lot more players, a lot more pieces. And you want to get into that real in depth. And like I said, there's a previous episode I've done purely on infinite finite games when it comes to health and fitness, right? So the element I touched on, right, that can happen, right, is when you're playing, and clients can do this, clients playing a game with their coach. Now, not all parties might understand that the game is happening, right? And let's just recap that I have been a client, so I do understand how to play this game myself as a client, right? Now, I kind of thought I was the only client that did this as a client, right? And then being on the other side of the game, I've come to recognise that actually it's quite common, really, and with working with the coaches, etc. It's quite common for a client to start to privately initiate a little bit of the game, right? Now, the game usually is, how far can I push this before my coach notices I'm not doing everything that I know I've agreed to do, or in their own language, not mine, or know everything I should shoulda, coulda, woulda be doing in terms of reaching my goal? Now let's translate that into what that really means from a habit point of view. And this is where I talked about habits, and you might recognise some of your own habits. This is a good one. I'm a client, I am sharing, and I've done this, I'm going to use this as example because I've done this. I am either sharing a food diary with my coach, or I'm using an app to track my food and give an access to my coach so my coach can see it, because I want full accountability of everything I'm putting in, all the photos. Now, the game I might play, or have played as a client, in my case using the app, hey Kate, the game I might play as a client is I will say, here, Sam, as it turned out, Sam was my coach, here Sam, here's my food on my app. You can see it all right there. It's all there. It's all there. It's not all there. There is some of it there. Like I might eat the item of food. Like I might say, yes, Sam, I had 5 peanut M&Ms. I didn't. I had 11. Possibly 15. I might have counted still, but I didn't put it in. What I'm doing is I'm playing the game of testing the boundary between being 100% accountable and finding out how much you can push it and still lose weight and still be eating the food a little bit more than I want, even though I'm still, if he asked me, I'd say I'm being honest. Sam, here is my food. It's everything I'm having. I had the M&Ms. Here's the M&Ms. I showed you a picture. Here's a picture of the M&Ms. That's a good one. Here's a picture of the M&Ms. There's 5 pictures and 5 little M&Ms and that rolling around the plate. Here's my 5 M&Ms. After the picture, I had another 6. I showed the M&Ms those time. I had them. Right? So there is an element of game playing going on, whether or not you recognise it as game playing or not, because what you're doing is really testing how far. It's like game of chess with your coach. Like, how far can I push them? How far can I tell them it's happening before I don't get a result? Or they're going to ask me a question that really tests me about whether or not I'm doing this or not. Now, a lot of this, sometimes, right, there's 2 elements of this, which I truly believe. There's the fully conscious element of it, which is probably me. The fully conscious game playing, like, aha, like this is like imaginary. They're listening to this. I'm doing an imaginary moustache. Oh, Mr. Honey, how far can I push you into believing what I'm telling you right now and still lose weight? Or when I don't, or when I stop losing weight, say I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. I've showed you everything. I had the M&Ms. How many I had? Now that's a fully conscious behaviour, and I'm admitting my behaviours. Eventually Sam got to the bottom of it. Eventually, when I got tired of the game and actually admitted, yeah, I'm knackered of this game now, I'll admit, right? Or this can also happen, the unconscious element of this, or actually you truly believe your own story, that you are applying all the things that you've been advised to do in your nutrition and with your training. You truly believe it because you're telling yourself you are, and you're unconscious of some of the other behaviours that's going on. Or you just rule them out as being impactful on what's happening on your results. It's still there as an element because it still exists, right? And I don't think it's, it doesn't necessarily damage the relationship, by the way. It certainly doesn't damage Sam and my relationship. It doesn't damage the relationship that I have with clients at all, because I've become more able to identify when this game has commenced. I might not have seen the start. I might have missed the kickoff. That's the other side of it. I might have missed when this game started. I wasn't quite involved in the first half. Round about half time now, I'm in going, oh, I'm part of this now. What's happening? To me, to you, right? So conscious of it, right? This is what I said about language. Be aware when you're starting to play a game. Now, with that element as well, to be fair, there is some game playing with yourself. Like, I really want to test myself as to how far I can keep eating the food I want and lose weight. I'm fully aware of that game playing is there with yourself as much as with a coach or whoever's keeping you accountable. You go, okay, this is how much I'm having. Let's see how I can push this. This is a great game. I love this game, right? As I always say, sometimes we can be fully conscious of it or not. However, there is some game playing element going on until eventually, if it's Sam who usually just puncture the ball and go, I found you out. Or I'm a chess player. Sam's a footballer, so he just punched the football and kill it. And I'm more of a chess player, so I like to move about 4 moves ahead and then head them off and go, checkmate, right? So the thing is, the resolution for this is when I said at the beginning, this is more about a notice and name situation. So if you recognise this is some of your behaviours and habits and you see them sneaking in somewhere here or there, ultimately, as long as it's a smaller meal, I have to be honest, having been a client as well, sometimes it doesn't impact your results. If you know, and if you know really deep down is actually impacting the results or where you're getting to, that's where you have to really question about what it is you get from that behavior that you're not getting somewhere else. Because again, from personality types, there's a lot of if it's stubbornness, I think some stubborn or some rebellious. If you're someone who likes to rebel, even though you know you've got a coach for accountability and a coach is there to get you to support you to a particular goal and you're fully on board with the goal, there's still an element of rebellious behavior that comes out in some of this as well, which is still an element of game playing, because ultimately you're trying to outplay a system to get to somewhere. It's just a thought, right? Now on the flip side, this is where you can flip this kind of mentality, because I've talked a lot about how it can be impactful and how it can have a detrimental effect. But also though, it can be actually very informative and very interesting if you flip the whole concept and say, actually, I'm going to push myself, right? A little bit, I touched on a little bit with short and long-term goals. If you actually say that, I've had a lot of clients use this and implement this very successfully. So the game they'll start to play is that, right, Helen, and often I'll actually even prompt this, right, let's play a game. Not in a creepy sore way. I've been tempted to do that many times and I haven't. Oh, I really want to do it, I'm not. However, I always say to clients, let's play a game. Now I'm going to talk about some of the other games in specifics. That sounds really weird. But I'm going to talk about some of the games you can play around nutrition in a later set of lives. However, in a general format sense, there's certain elements you pick up and say, right, okay, so the game I'm going to play today is I'm going to get, I don't know, 500 steps more today than I did yesterday. The game I'm going to play today is I'm going to work out exactly how hungry I need to get. Or can I push that a little bit further today? The game I'm going to play today is I'm going to play the game of drinking as much water as I can over a long period of time, right? It's all about how you prompt it and how you make it a competition, either between yourself or, if you're so inclined, with somebody else, like someone on your team, somebody within the family of YouFit, somebody within your family. I have even played games with clients like I've actually played a drinking game, like who can drink more water by a particular time. How many done? 3. Be honest, like I was that 100% honest, or like, okay, you're good, let's do steps together today, right? Okay, I've done 10,000, where you at? So that kind of game playing, or people call it competitiveness, but what is competing? It's a game, right? So the thing is that you can create that within yourself, like competing with myself, or creating with or competing even with somebody else outside the immediate circle to make that more like, give that edge, right? I love it all the time. It's not going to use you in immediate family, certainly if it's like a bit like, suck it when you win, if you're a bad winner or loser, let's be clear. However, when it's constructive, it's people say healthy, right? But healthy is probably when you don't kind of lord it over that you win. But understanding that you can twist that into something more constructive if you look at it in a different way. One of the things I want to finish on as well is the rewarding yourself when you win element can be both sides of the coin, right? So let's use the last 2 examples I've talked about. So I've talked about when a client is competing with a coach to kind of be able to keep some behaviours they like with food and still get a result and keep everyone happy, or keep the coach happy, keep them happy. Rewarding when someone wins in that element might be to continue to push the boundaries. Like, for example, I did. So it might have gone from 5 MLMs to 11 MLMs to 15 MLMs, right? Because I keep rewarding myself for still being able to lose weight and eat this stuff. And you can see where that might end up, because that will end up with not losing weight, as so did in my case, right? So there can be an element of that when you're playing games, but also, again, flipping onto the other side, if you are competing with a significant other or friend or someone in the YouFit family, say, okay, what's the prize if you win? What do we win? What do we win? What do I get? Because people go, oh, you get the recognition. Actually, if you think about it, if you said to yourself, right, if I really, I'll probably talk about rewards on their own, because I think I've done it on live yet. Often what we do is reward ourselves with food or with something that we deem naughty, right? But truly, if you're playing a game, if you're really competing, kind of medals, Olympic medals aren't made out of chocolate. As far as I know, I've not bit one. I don't think they are. side comment. Point I'm making though is that if you are playing a long-term game of health and fitness, it stands to reason that some of the rewards along the way do not have to be based on food. They can be based on multiple different things, right? It can be based on giving yourself a pamper day at home, renting your favourite movie, I don't know, going for a walk in your favourite place. There's lots of other ways right now you can still reward yourself that aren't dependent on food. Our reward system for winning, though, is often kind of taking us away from our goals a little bit. So just something else to consider. So really just a brief overview of this. Again, I did say at the top, a lot of this is about language and interpretation. So again, if you recognise some of your behaviours in anything I've said today, small or otherwise, I'm not saying it necessarily has an extremely negative impact on your results or your mindset, etc. It does, though, impact. Now, like most things, and I keep going back to myself, so I'm just going to admit it, right? And because I see this so much in other clients as well. There's an incremental impact, though, on this. Certainly if you're playing a game with a coach in a negative sense. A bit like me saying I'm going to 5 to 11 to 15 M&Ms, right? Because there is incremental a reward system. If you keep winning at some of these behaviours, you'll keep getting a reward somewhere. And what do we know about the reward system? We want more. So what do? We keep doing the behaviour to get the reward. Now, as I said, that still works primarily in a flip side. So incrementally, if you keep rewarding yourself in a positive way, doing things that build towards an outcome that you're really looking for, your reward system still gets stimulated, right? And you still want to do it more to get the reward. It's just understanding what games you're playing and where you want to get the reward and what is the overall victory, what is the result of winning, what does it actually give you value from, or what does it deserve to some degree as well. So yeah, what game are you playing? Well, my clients are just going, I don't know what she means. I'll find out eventually. Remember, I play chess. This is my game. My game is chess. So tomorrow. Oh, it's good one tomorrow. I'm checking the date. Not what date it is actually. Isn't it? Oh, it's 10th today. Right. You are what you believe. Belief system challenges tomorrow. This should be fun. So join me for that one, 5 o'clock tomorrow. And as always, if you're going out for walks tonight, enjoy it. It's lovely and fresh out there. I've just been out for mine. Have a fabulous evening and catch you tomorrow.